one that sounds good. That's the preference. Whose is this?
In the rough chapter also.
Read about it. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajika Jajashodara Sisi Mad, His Divine Grace. Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jajashodara Sisi Mad, His Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Kartik Brata ki jai. Shri Murari Gupta ki jai. Gaura Premanandi, all glories to the sum of the devotees, all glories to the sum of the devotees, all glories to the sum of the devotees, all glories, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Is the verse written for today? Or does everyone have devices? Huh?
Everyone is left to their own devices.
Do you have a device? Would you like a device? I'm asking you a question. More broad than just the classroom. Do you have a device?
I don't.
Would you like a device?
It'd be nice if we just write on the board, though.
Yeah. No, I'm asking you a question. I have a device I can give you.
Sorry.
Like a gift horse in the mouth. Today. Are you going out on the town? Sankirtan?
Yeah.
Just stop in a store and pick one up. Okay. So this is text 27. No, I'll leave that up to you. You can do a search in the database. Just type in text 27. Third canto, chapter 26, text 27. You're going to get close so you can see. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskricham Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudiyariyat. Okay, here we go. Vaikarikar Vikurvanam Manas Tattvam Ajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava Vaikaryakad Vikurvanam Manastatvam Ajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava Vaikarikad Vikurvanam Manastatvam Ajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava. Please chant.
Vaikarikad Vikurvanam
Manastatvam Ajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava. Vaikarikad Vikurvanam Manastatvam Ajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava. Vaikarikad Vikurvanam Manastatvam Ajayata Yat Sankalpa Vikalpabhyam Vartate Kama Sambhava. Vaikarikati kurvanam Manastatvam ajayata Yat sankalpa vikalpabhyam Vartate kama sambhava. Anyone else? Okay. You know where Janardhan is? Okay. Both. Both. Okay. Synonyms. Vaikarikat. From the false ego of goodness. Vikurvanat. Undergoing transformation. Manaha. The mind. Tattvam. Principle. Ajayata. Evolved. Yat. Whose. Sankalpa. Thoughts. Vikalpabhyam. And by reflections. Vartate. Happens. Kama sambhavaha. The rise of desire. That rhymes. Rise of desire. Okay, translation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. From the false ego of goodness, another transformation takes place. From this evolves the mind whose thoughts and reflections give rise to desire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of the mind are determination and rejection, which are due to different kinds of desires. Accepting and rejecting, like that. Ichcha dvesha samutvaina. We desire that which is favorable to our sense gratification, and we reject that which is not favorable to sense gratification. The material mind is not fixed, but the very same mind can be fixed when engaged in activities of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, as long as the mind is on the material platform, it is hovering, and all this rejection and acceptance is asat, temporary. It is stated that he whose mind is not fixed in Krishna consciousness must hover between acceptance and rejection. However, advanced a man is in academic qualifications, as long as he is not fixed in Krishna consciousness, he will simply accept and reject and will never be able to fix his mind on a particular subject matter. Please repeat. From the false ego of goodness, another transformation takes place. From this evolves the mind, whose thoughts and reflections give rise to desire. Om Agyantimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksulin Minitam Nena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the mind is referred to as the sixth sense, and the most important, because depending on how the mind is moving, our other senses follow. If the mind is controlled, all the other senses fall into place, and if the mind is uncontrolled, we're at the mercy of all the senses. The example is given of can you imagine marrying 6 women? And, I'm not even asking if you can imagine marrying one, because you're a brahmachari. But the example is given, someone has 6 co-wives, right? And he gets home and they all want him. They're pulling in different directions. No, you come with me, you come with me, you come with me. Have you been to Jaipur? Have you taken a tour of Mansing's palace? Up on the hill? No. Okay. They don't charge too much, you just don't have much money when you're there.
They charge like 2,000 rupees for a foreigner.
Really? Oh, okay. I've been there about 10 years. They didn't charge that much. Rode the elephant up. Okay, you got to get a tan. Okay. Anyways, went on a tour there many years ago, probably 2003 or something. I had to go to Jaipur for some business. For a devotee. And the tour guide explained, you're up high and you're looking down, he said Mansingh had a few different wives, and they had different areas of the palace where they live, and he had a secret passageways. You can go from one wife to the next without the other knowing, because he knew how he'd get in trouble. right? Because every wife wants him like that. Why are you going to her? Why are you like that? So he tried to work it out as best as possible, have these secret passageways so he can go between wife to wife without the others finding out, because he knew he was going to catch a lot of hell like that for doing that. So the Bhagavatam gives the example that the living entity is being pulled in different directions by his senses, just as a man who's married to 6 wives, he's completely bewildered and helpless and frustrated because he's being pulled in all these different directions, no peace of mind or whatever. So that's an example given. You can have a mental picture of that. Six wives pulling you in different directions, right? Your eyes want something, your ears want something, like that, all the different senses. And the function of the mind is this sankalpa vikalpa, icha dvesha, like that, accepting and rejecting. That's all the mind does. It just filters everything according to, you can say, what the intelligence feeds it. So our intelligence is infected by the modes of material nature, and the intelligence is telling us what's the goal of life. Prabhupada mentions it right here. First word begins with an S, second word begins with a G. Damodar. What is it? Students not listening. Yeah, sense gratification. Our intelligence in the material world is feeding us the idea that the goal of life is sense gratification. And therefore, what does the mind do? It says right here, we desire that which is favorable to our sense gratification, and we reject that which is not favorable to sense gratification. And the whole system of material education is to let us understand what is the best thing for our sense gratification, what to accept and what to reject. And you're considered successful in material life if you've been good at that. Some people aren't very good at that. They get themselves in so much trouble and there's so much suffering because they do not know how to accept and reject properly sense gratification. And of course you have those outside of Vedic culture, but even within Vedic culture, most of the Vedas are about how to accept and reject things for sense gratification in a polished way, a dharmic way. In such an elevated way where in your next life you can actually go to a place where there's a lot of sense gratification. What's that place called? Damodar, let's redeem yourself here. Huh? Swargaloka, or heaven, right? Very, very nice. Just like in this world, we see people are very anxious to accumulate a lot of money, because with money you can live a better life. Right? You can live the sort of the Swargaloka here. You can move from East SanDiego to La Jolla, right? Or these, you got this rancho, all those rancho places out there, Rancho Santa Fe, Rancho this, Rancho that, right? And they're not in. I know there's no happiness there, but you pay a lot of money, right? That you pay a lot of money to live there. Big homes. What do they call them? McMansions. I don't know if they still call them that, McMansions. They used to call them like that. Big homes and all that. So because someone's learned how to accept and reject things for sense gratification. But the point is, we'll read a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita about the mind. But Prabhupada makes the point that as long as one's on that platform, one can never be peaceful. Why? Because it never stops. It just never stops. Right? You make a decision, and you think it's a good decision, but then you say, well, maybe I should make another decision. I'll give an example of one extravagance I heard many years ago. There's a place in Connecticut called Newport. It's right on the coast. And turn of the last century, many well-to-do people built their homes there. These are huge mansions, and you can go on tours and so on. I've never been on a tour. But they had so much money. There's 2 things they did. One is they used to have huge parties for their dogs. And the dogs would arrive in a car, like a taxi. Like the chauffeur would bring the dog to someone. They'd throw a party for everyone's, the other rich people's dogs. And dogs would come, and dogs would actually sit at the table and have nice, like, silver bowls and dog food. And they try to outdo each other, the dog parties, like that. We probably had silver pooper scoopers and all kinds of things like that. Another thing they would do is every 6 months they would renovate the whole inside of the house, just to show off, like that. Oh, new decor, like that, costing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And even at that time, that was a lot of money. In other words, the mind it can never be satisfied. You can't just say, okay. As long as the mind's on the material platform, it's always moving like that. It's never satisfied. Why is that? Because there's nothing in the material world which can satisfy the mind. That's why. There's nothing out there. So whatever we're accepting and rejecting, the same thing you accept 1 minute, you'll reject the next minute. When Bhakti Chur Maharaj was here years ago and he gave the example, and you've probably heard this before. Let's say Mahabharat, he's cooking breakfast this morning, right? And on side of the khichdi and chutney, right, he makes some very, very nice pakoras with some coconut chutney, right? So your mind is thinking, oh, this is very nice. Let me have a lot of these pakoras. And this coconut chutney is very nice. Delicious, delicious. More and more. Your mind says, yes, Bhaktizak, you deserve it. You're working so hard. Why don't you have another helping, right? And then you finish that and your mind goes, maybe a little bit more too. These are very nice pakoras. Maybe cauliflower pakoras with coconut chutney. That's a nice combination, right? And you just keep eating and eating and your mind is telling you, very good, very good. And then what happens a little bit later after breakfast? You have a horrible stomachache because of all the coconut chutney. And what is your mind telling you then? You're such an idiot, Bhaktizak. Who told you to eat all that? Who told you to eat all that coconut chutney and pakoras, right? The very same mind that told you go for it is now telling you you're an idiot, right? So the point being is there's nothing of real happiness in this material world, and therefore the mind is always forced to go back and forth, accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting, until you fix it. Prabhupada says, until you fix it in Krishna consciousness, we are destined to that type of a lifestyle, like that. Ekeha kurunandana, right? Bahusaka anantascha. There's a verse there. What's it? 6th chapter? 4th chapter? I think it's 5th chapter, 5th chapter. Krishna says that one whose intelligence is many-branched, I mean, just goes out all over the place. The resolute determination, ekeha kurunandana, eke means one. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And we need that to be fixed no matter what happens, whatever, because there's always something to accept and reject. You can decide, I will stay awake in class, better for me to fall asleep in class. Better not even to come to class, better to come to... I mean, every second we're giving a myriad of choices. In fact, there's a name for a psychological condition today that people have too many choices. I don't know what it is. Maybe you've read articles on this. They have too many choices. Consumers have too many choices. You go to the store and instead of having 1 or 2 varieties of soap, you have about 100. And razor blades, right? Like that. How many razor blades? And all the varieties of shaving cream and all the toilet paper. You got 20 varieties of toilet paper to choose from, and this and that. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And people actually have a problem. They have too many choices, and they shut down. They actually become depressed. They have too many choices. Like that, because it overloads the mind. Whereas previously you'd have 2 or 3 choices and that was it. Or maybe even just one. 100 years ago, your mother sent you to the store, go get a loaf of bread. Well, there's just one loaf of bread. When I grew up, there was pretty much just one kind of bread on the shelf. You know what it was? It begins with a W. Wonder bread. That was about it. 1 or 2 varieties of Wonder bread. They cornered the market on that one. Right there. You just had Wonder bread. And even when I grew up, there was really only about 2 kinds of pastas when I was a kid. One was the long stuff, spaghetti, and then the other one was elbow noodles. That's about all you found back in the 60s. That was it. Then all of a sudden they started introducing, and you go to these stores now, there's 5 or 6, and you go to specialty stores. A friend of mine went to Italy, and they said that they went to some pasta store, and there were hundreds of varieties of shapes of pasta made with different things. Hundreds. But when it comes right down to it, what is it? Pasta. But somehow or other different, this is going to be like that in the mind. All these different choices. So, it said actually we only have one choice, and what's that choice? Down, you go right down into the very, very core of our existence. We only actually have 2 choices. What are they? Yeah. You make that choice, and then you are carried away by that energy. Even the devotees are carried away. Pure devotees carried away by Krishna's internal potency. Like that. They're helpless. They just can't help themselves. They just engage in devotional service. And they're making, what is that? Anukulyasa sankalpa patikulyasa bharjanam. That's the first of 2 of the 6 symptoms of full surrender to Krishna. You know what that is? Anukulyasa sankalpa patikulyasa bharjanam. It's just like this. Accept those things which are favorable for devotional service and reject those things which are unfavorable. So you can say the pure devotee is kind of on the mental platform too. But he's really not, because the difference is Krishna actually satisfies the mind. The mind doesn't move anymore. It's like a ship coming home into the dock. There it is. It's home. It doesn't have to move. So the only thing that will satisfy the mind is devotional service and Krishna consciousness. So someone will say, well, I'm not very satisfied. Right? Devotee may say, I'm not very satisfied. My mind is always thinking about everything else. Wait, especially during japa. When I sit down to japa, my mind just goes all over the universe. It's kind of like, it's like getting on an airplane. Here's the ticket. Woohoo! 2 hours all over the universe. So I'm not, I'm chanting the holy names. I'm not that satisfied. And that's the point, is that's a neophyte devotee. When the heart becomes purified, right? Cetodarpana marjanam, when the heart becomes purified, then one actually experiences Krishna. And when that happens, one is just like, where's that very famous verse by Dhruva Maharaj? He wanted in the universe, he just didn't want like a car and an apartment in SanDiego or something. He wanted a universe better than Lord Brahma. He was very upset about what happened with his father, his mother, stepmother, and so on. But he said the famous verse is when Krishna finally came to him, when Lord Narayan finally came to him and blessed him, he said, Swamin Kritarto, I forget, anyways, how's it go? Nayache, yeah. He said, I came to you wanting material benedictions, but now those are just like pieces of broken glass. They're useless now that I have you, your lotus feet. So, another thing we can contemplate is that there are many people who have achieved full. Lord Brahma is an example, but another example is given is Hiranyakashipu. He's the biggest materialist that we have there, and Krishna set that all up just to show us someone who has everything they could possibly want, right? And were they happy? No. And then you look at those who are engaged in pure devotional service. Look at some people, devotees who are very advanced or very, very advanced. Do they seem happy? They're actually the happiest people in the world. There's something there. That's where the attractiveness of spirituality is. They found something which is so good, which is so satisfying, they're able to give up everything else permanently. Like that. So these are different things to contemplate. Are there any questions or comments on this purport and verse before we start reading about such a great devotee as Murari Gupta? Janardhan, any questions? Yes.
Particularly during japa, the mind is trying to wander or think about something else. I've heard there's there's actually many things many different ways of chanting japa that are recommended by Prabhupada, say just hear and chant and after you chant. But so then when our mind starts dragging us away, I've heard some devotees say we're supposed to beat it back, or you're supposed to smash your mind, and then I've heard other devotees say just ignore your mind. And I've heard other devotees say meditate on Krishna Leela, and I've heard other devotees say think about his lotus feet. I've heard other things.
Hey, you just heard it.
Yeah, but I've noticed that when we try to beat the mind and really smash it and just it doesn't make the heart softer, which is one of the necessary things for Krishna consciousness, right? For bhakti to develop, the heart becomes soft and affection for Krishna. Like I was saying in the Dharma prayer, free from all arrogance, totally free from all arrogance. So, what's your opinion on
All the above, whatever works. Right, just like you're a doctor. He's a doctor. He looks like a doctor. He's a doctor. So different patients will come to him, and according to the constitution of the patient, he'll prescribe different remedies. So for one devotee, chastising his mind will work. You nonsense. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said like a stick, and then the shoe. The voices in the old, and they didn't know exactly what that meant, so they used to have in San Francisco on the back doorstep of the temple, it was a house, they had an old shoe, and devotees in the evening would go out and hit themselves in the head with a shoe. They actually used to do it, because Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said in the evening you hit your mind with a shoe. So they'd go out there, so the devotees, I forget who was giving the class, he said, I wonder what the neighbors thought of that. Be standing on the back porch hitting their head with a shoe. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said to do that. They knew it, the mind, So sometimes that's there, sometimes neglect, right? Sometimes just stand up and be awake, sometimes meditate on the pastimes, whatever it takes, but the point is to be applying yourself and doing whatever is necessary, and maybe a variety of all of them. Mm-hmm.
Makes the point that you can't really solve the problem on its own level. So if you're trying to control the mind, to focus on Krishna, then you should activate the heart and try to chant with feeling. And if you're actually chanting with feeling in prayer, in prayerful mood, then automatically the mind is involved as well.
Yeah, because that's the seat of the chanting. That's what they say, mechanical chanting is like the heart's been disconnected. It's just blah, 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 blah. So, to the extent, because it's calling out, that's what it is. It's a vocative form. You're calling out. Oh Radha, oh Krishna, instead of Radha Krishna. It's oh Radha, oh Krishna. Right? That you're calling out. That's the form of that's the grammar. You're calling out to Radha and Krishna, So you have to be in that mood, or like Prabhupada said, the mood of a child crying for its mother, right, Damodar? Like that. So that's a mood. That's from the heart, like that. So these are different things to contemplate. Any other questions or comments, Janard? Okay. So let's read for a few minutes about. Here it is. Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta wrote. He was one of the devotees who kept a journal of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's earlier pastimes. And Krishnadas Kaviraj, for compiling the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he used his book, and who else's book? Raghunath Das Goswami, right? And Sub Damodar. I mean, three different notebooks. They call them notebooks. Like that. So. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. Boy, I hear it. Turn it this way. Nope, turn it this way. Open it up here. Okay. Murari Gupta, the 21st branch of the tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was a storehouse of love of Godhead. His great humility and meekness melted the heart of Lord Chaitanya. Purport is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Murari Gupta wrote a book called Sri Chaitanya Charita. He belonged to a Vaidya physician family of Sri Hatta, the paternal home of Lord Chaitanya, and later became a resident of Navadvip. Have you been to his house? Yeah. Back in the 80s I went there. I don't know how to get there now, because that whole row is filled with homes and houses. But you can go to his house, Murari Gupta's home, where it used to be. He was among the elders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya exhibited his Varaha form in the house of Murari Gupta as described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Lila, 3rd chapter. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his Mahaprakash form, he appeared before Murari Gupta as Lord Ramachandra. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu were sitting together in the house of Srivas Thakur, Murari Gupta first offered his respects to Lord Chaitanya and then to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, however, was older than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore Lord Chaitanya remarked that Murari Gupta had violated social etiquette. For he should have first shown respect to Nityananda Prabhu and then to him. In this way, by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Murari Gupta was informed about the position of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and the next day he offered obeisances first to Lord Nityananda and then to Lord Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave chewed pan or betel nut to Murari Gupta. Once Shivananda Sain offered food to Lord Chaitanya that had been cooked with excessive ghee, and the next day the Lord became sick and went to Murari Gupta for treatment. Lord Chaitanya accepted some water from the water pot of Murari Gupta, and thus he was cured. The natural remedy for indigestion is to drink a little water, and since Murari Gupta was a physician, he gave the Lord some drinking water and cured him. Hare Krishna. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the house of Srivas Thakur, in his Chaturbhuj Murti, Murari Gupta became his carrier in the form of Garuda. And in these pastimes of ecstasy, the Lord then got on his back. It was the desire of Murari Gupta to leave his body before the disappearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the Lord forbade him to do so. This is described in Chaitanya Bhagavat. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one day appeared in the ecstasy of the Varaha Murti, Murari Gupta offered him prayers. He was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, and his staunch devotion is vividly described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. It says here, there's another verse, Murari Gupta never accepted charity from friends, nor did he accept money from anyone. He practiced as a physician and maintained his family with his earnings. So Prabhu is saying here, it should be noted that a grihasta must not make his livelihood by begging from anyone. Every householder of the higher caste should engage himself in his own occupational duty as a brahmana, kshatriya, or vaishya. He should not engage in the service of others, for this is the duty of a sudra. He should simply accept whatever he earns by his own profession. So he's saying other people can beg, but householders shouldn't. As Murari Gupta treated his patients, by his mercy, both their bodily and spiritual diseases subsided. Now that's a good doctor. You get that at Kaiser? I don't think so. They do say thrive, though, but I don't think they're talking about spiritually. And here it is, purport. Murari Gupta could treat both bodily and spiritual diseases because he was a physician by profession and a great devotee of the Lord in terms of spiritual advancement. This is an example of service to humanity. Everyone should know that there are two kinds of diseases in human society. One disease is called adhyatmika, or material disease, pertains to the body, but the main disease is spiritual. The living entity is eternal, but somehow or other, when in contact with the material energy, is subjected to the repetition of birth and death, old age and disease. The physicians of the modern day should learn from Murari Gupta. Although modern philanthropic physicians open gigantic hospitals, there are no hospitals to cure for the material disease of the spirit soul. The Krishna conscious movement has taken up the mission of curing this disease, but people are not very appreciative because they do not know what this disease is. A diseased person needs both proper medicine and a proper diet, and therefore the Krishna conscious movement supplies materially stricken people with the medicine of chanting the holy names, or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and the diet of prasad. There are many hospitals and medical clinics to cure bodily diseases, but there are no such hospitals to cure the material disease of the spirit soul. I know of one, though. Yeah, the Bhaktivedanta Hospital. And, the centers of the Krishna conscious movement are the only established hospitals that can cure a man of birth, death, disease, and old age. All the devotees worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way, and when the Lord remained in ecstasy for 7 parahas, or 21 hours, he took this opportunity to show the devotees that he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the Mahaprakash and Srivas Thakur's, and all the devotees would come and he would reveal himself in different forms according to the devotees' relationship with him, different avatars and so on. Who is the source of all other incarnations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. All the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Vishnu Tattva, emanate from the body of Lord Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exposed all the private desires of his devotees. Thus all of them became fully confident that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some devotees call this exhibition of ecstasy by the Lord Sata Parhya Bhava, or the ecstasy of 21 hours, and others call it Mahabhav Prakash or Mahapakash. There are other descriptions of this Shata Pariya Bhava in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 9, which mentions that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed a maidservant named Duki with the name Suki. What does Duki mean? And what does Suki mean? So he changed her name from sad to happy. He called for Kolavecha Sridhar and showed him his Mahapakash. Then he called for Murari Gupta and showed him his feature as Lord Ramachandra. He offered his blessings to Haridas Thakur. At this time he also asked Advaita Prabhu to explain the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Gitara Satyapata, and showed special favor to Mukunda. How much time do we have? Oh, here it is. Here's a pastime. While living in Navadvip, Sri Murari Gupta had the opportunity to remain always in the company of Gaurachandra, whose name, who can describe his greatness? He is known throughout the world as Hanuman. Guess he's an incarnation of Hanuman. After crossing the ocean to Lanka, Hanuman burned Ravana's palace to the ground. Then Hanuman brought Ram the good news about his beloved Sita. He revived Lakshman by bringing Vishala Karani, a medicinal herb. That same Hanuman now resides in Nadia as Murari Gupta. So that's why he was so dedicated to Ramachandra. Being highly realized, Murari Gupta knows all truths. As an eternal associate of the Lord, he is fixed in the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He expertly told all of Lord Chaitanya's childhood and boyhood pastimes in his great Sanskrit epic, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Charita Mahavakya. Okay. Murari Gupta begged Lord Chaitanya to please be merciful and give me ecstatic love of God. So he asked Lord Chaitanya for that benediction. Lord Gauranga said, "Listen, Murari, you have you have love for me, so just serve the Parabrahman appearing in the human form, having the color of an Indranila gem, blue sapphire." Let's turn talking about Krishna. He stands most attractively in his threefold bending form, carrying a flute in his hand. Worship Srimati Radharani, the golden complexioned daughter of King Vrishabhanu. She is the original energy of the Lord, and her effulgence defeats the color of bright yellow. Engage yourself in the service of the gopis, and you'll attain the son of Nanda. In Chintamani Bhumi, Vrindavan Dham, he sits on a jeweled throne, resting upon a gem-studded platform surrounded by kalpavriksha trees. By his inconceivable potency, Kamadhenu Sarabi cows wander everywhere, fulfilling all desires. His glittering bodily effulgence is known as the formless Brahman. You should know that this is the sweet truth about Krishna. The devotees felt transcendental joy to hear these talks from Lord Gauranga. Misspelling here. In a mood of submission, Murari Gupta requested, "My Lord, I want to see the Lord's form as Raghunath, Lord Ram," because he's Hanuman. Within a second, Murari saw Lord Ramachandra in his beautiful bodily color, like that of fresh green grass. Sita Devi, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna stood around the Lord. Murari Gupta rolled on the ground in astonishment. Gaurasunda pacified him with the touch of his lotus hand while blessing him. "May you become saturated in love of God. Actually, Murari, you are none other than Hanuman, and I am the same Lord Ram." After saying this, the Lord entered the temple. This is from the Chaitanya Mangala by Lochan Das Thakur. There's one last pastime. I'll read this. I don't know where this is taking place, but it says, Murari Gupta at first did not meet the Lord, but rather remained outside the door. In the Madhya Lila 11:152. Falling down like a stick to offer obeisances. So it's sometime either in Puri or coming back to Bengal. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not see Murari amongst the devotees, he inquired about him. Thereupon many people immediately went to Murari, running to take him to the Lord. Thus Murari Gupta, catching 2 bundles of straw in his teeth, went before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with humility and meekness.